You would struggle to find anyone who doesn't recognise the piece of music playing right now. It's Hedwig's theme, the main theme for the 8 mainline Harry Potter movies, composed by John Williams. And it's Harry Potter, isn't it? If you ask someone to hum something from Harry Potter, you're more than likely going to hear Hedwig's theme. Williams has a certain knack for writing pieces of music that are endlessly memorable. John Williams composed the scores for the first 3 Harry Potter films, Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban, and managed something that many composers fail to achieve. He adapted his writing style and by extension his music to conform to the changing and evolving tone of the films he was scoring. After Williams left the Harry Potter series, he was succeeded by 3 other composers, Patrick Doyle, Nicholas Hooper and Alexandre Desplat. They all had a hand in making Harry Potter the cinematic juggernaut it is today. So let's have a look at just why these soundtracks and these films are so special. I think Chris Columbus deserves an awful lot of praise for his work on Harry Potter. He was originally selected to direct films for all 7 books. Having already directed the first 2 Home Alone movies and Mrs. Doubtfire, he had shown a proclivity for directing films that had children both as their stars and as their audience. His vision was laid out. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was going to be predominantly a kids' movie. And that makes sense. Kids had already started growing up with the books. It would fit for the films to follow suit. It would be a film full of wonder, to pique the imaginations of the audience it was reaching. And let's be honest, the soundtrack was only ever going to be written by one man. If you want a score that's written for children, but is also exciting and inviting, you hire John Williams. By the time Philosopher's Stone started filming in late 2000, Williams had already scored all 4 Star Wars movies, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Home Alone, Hook, the list goes on. He was a perfect fit for the series, a man who could write a theme and have it stick. You see, John Williams is the master of leitmotif, a musical technique that composers use all the time when writing film scores. A leitmotif is a theme that is directly associated with a particular character, place, or idea. Williams' work on Harry Potter is perhaps the best example of his unparalleled ability to write a memorable and iconic theme from a career spanning over 60 years. In Philosopher's Stone, there are 8 significant themes that recur throughout the runtime. The first, Hedwig's theme, is the one we all know, and it plays 24 times across Philosopher's Stone's 150 minutes. That's the equivalent of this piece of music showing up every 6.5 minutes. It's played on a celeste, an instrument that is similar in appearance to a piano, but has hammers that hit steel plates as opposed to strings. Hedwig's theme signifies all manner of emotions across the 8 films, but predominantly it represents hope. Other recurring themes include the Mischief Theme, played when Harry lets the snake out of its enclosure, the Triumphant Quidditch Theme, played, well, during Quidditch, Voldemort's leitmotif, super simple, just a few notes in a phrase, but still incredibly memorable. Around the middle of the movie, there's this bright, upbeat Christmas theme. The amazing motif for the chess game with Shades of Mars by Holst. The Wonder theme, played when Harry first reaches Diagon Alley and the Great Hall, and for some reason isn't on the official soundtrack. And finally, the Loved Ones theme, played when Harry sees his family in the Mirror of Erised and when he tells Hagrid that Hogwarts is his home. I guarantee that anyone who has seen Philosopher's Stone even once or twice will recognise at least half of these themes, and that goes to show just how excellent John Williams is at his job. Everyone knows the music from Harry Potter, and for good reason. A large part of why the soundtrack to this film is so memorable is that, more than any of the others, Philosopher's Stone is a kids' movie. It's all well and good writing music that's in 23/16 time and goes through 4 different modes, but if it isn't recognisable and memorable to your audience, what's the point? John Williams writes a lot of very bombastic, very over-the-top music, but it reaches the people it is intended to reach, and that is what is most important. The tone of Philosopher's Stone is that of whimsy and wonder, to get kids to understand that magic isn't about your wand or your power, but your friends and the courage of your convictions. It's cheesy, yes, but it's true, and by and large, the first sequel to Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, shares the same message. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is a strange movie. Chris Columbus was back to direct, and John Williams was back to compose the score, and, well, it all feels very familiar. Of the 8 themes listed from Philosopher's Stone, 5 return in its sequel. Only 3 new themes are introduced in Chamber of Secrets, one for Lockhart, which is an excellent musical parallel to Hedwig's theme, see this Good Blood video for more. One for the Spiders and Aragog. And one for Fawkes the Phoenix.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
The rest of the soundtrack isn't identical, of course, but it is very similar. And this was intentional. Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets are so congruent in tone and atmosphere that it would feel completely jarring to have an entirely new set of motifs and themes for each individual scenario and character. That said, the score for Chamber of Secrets feels a little samey. Hedwig's theme is again refrained a huge number of times and it starts to get a little dull. For me at least. Truth be told, I'm not the biggest fan of John Williams. I know to say that is practically heresy, but I think that a lot of his soundtracks are just a bit overcomplicated. For example, in the Quidditch scene in Chamber of Secrets, there is a lot going on. Harry is fighting Malfoy for the snitch, going in and out of the rafters underneath the stands of the stadium, whilst also being chased by a cursed bludger. The scene is incredibly fast-paced, with a huge number of sounds and effects going on at any given time, and on top of all that is this. To me, this music is unnecessary. The scene already has enough momentum without the woodwind playing this ridiculous part. It's exhausting to listen to. I think Williams gets caught up in his own traditional writing style sometimes, writing bombastic, almost silly pieces of music that would fit in a film from the 70s but are out of place in the 21st century. To be fair to him though, the film itself is probably my least favourite film in the series, so my opinion of everything associated to it is going to be tarnished in some way. It's the longest film despite being the second shortest book, clocking in at a gargantuan 2 hours and 41 minutes, and it drags. There's only so much the soundtrack can do to keep you interested when seemingly every insignificant detail is played out in the film, and to its detriment, the score is, I guess, the most John Williams-y. By and large, the music in Chamber of Secrets is unremarkable, very reminiscent of Philosopher's Stone. You would be forgiven for believing that when John Williams was back to score the third film in the series, the soundtrack would be more of the same. But to put it lightly, you would be wrong.
Expecto Patronum!
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is a wildly different movie to the two that came before it. Chris Columbus turned down the opportunity to direct this film because he wanted to spend more time with his own kids, not the ones he was directing. Because of this, Warner Brothers decided to bring in Alfonso Cuarón. In 2020, this wouldn't seem like a particularly out there decision, since Cuarón has released a string of excellent films in the last 15 years. But back in 2003, when Azkaban started filming, this was a radical choice. At this point, Cuarón was a fairly unknown director, his last movie being a very explicit coming-of-age drama, Y tu mamá también. As we all know though, his direction made the Harry Potter series what it is today. Suddenly, Harry Potter wasn't all glitz and glamour, whimsy and wonder. It was dark, there was genuine, true evil about, and the soundtrack had to adapt to fit this new tone. For Prisoner of Azkaban, John Williams, in his final film of the series, took the decision to really condense the soundtrack, choosing only to write recurring themes for characters and the most important plot points. Aside from the first two scenes, which I'll get to in a moment, almost all of the over-the-top, stereotypical John Williams pieces of music have been taken out completely, which leaves the film to do the talking. Compare the Quidditch themes from Azkaban and Chamber of Secrets. I know I keep ragging on Chamber of Secrets, but it's a perfect example of what I'm trying to say. In Chamber of Secrets, there's no discernible theme, it's just musical mayhem. In Azkaban, there's a lot of chaos in the music. It's a chaotic scene, but it's dominated by a 4-note motif that recurs, keeping us grounded in what is actually happening. This is a stark departure from Williams' usual work. Prisoner of Azkaban isn't afraid to have extended periods of time without any music playing at all. There's still a lot of music in this film, a lot of great music, but most of the motifs and melodies are used only once. This means that the huge, sweeping musical pieces that Williams is so well known for are reserved for themes associated with the main characters and key elements of the film. It should be noted that Alfonso Cuarón directed the first two scenes of Prisoner of Azkaban to be a bit of an homage to both Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. They're light-hearted, a bit silly, and a lot of fun. They're very reminiscent of the films that preceded Azkaban, and the soundtrack reflects that. The scene on the night bus is a perfect example of this. The score is classic John Williams, loud, frenetic, and really a bit all over the place. It's only when Harry reaches the leaky cauldron that the film and the soundtrack change to become the far darker beasts that they needed to be.
Who is that?
Only 2 of the 8 themes from Chamber of Secrets return in Prisoner of Azkaban, and even they are used sparingly. Hedwig's theme begins the film and is dotted around the runtime, but this time around it centres on the character of Harry Potter, as opposed to the world of Harry Potter. The Mischief theme is used right at the end of the film, when Harry flies off on his broom, and that's about it. It isn't used at any other time during Azkaban's runtime, so let's scrub that one out for now. That leaves just Hedwig's theme as the sole piece of music in Prisoner of Azkaban that isn't entirely new. In total, there are 4 recurring themes in Prisoner of Azkaban, including Hedwig's theme. Each piece relates to a particular character or important plot point in the film. The first of these is Buckbeak's theme, a beautiful, sweeping string line. It effortlessly captures the freedom Harry feels when he is first able to fly on Buckbeak's back. is refrained when Harry and Hermione break Sirius out of the cell at the top of the Dark Tower, reinforcing this theme of freedom. Initially, you may wonder why Buckbeak has an established theme in the first place, until you realise that, really, Buckbeak is the key character of Prisoner of Azkaban. Without the Hippogriff attacking Draco, none of the story would even happen in the first place. Buckbeak wouldn't be quote-unquote beheaded, Ron wouldn't chase Scabbers to the Whomping Willow, Sirius wouldn't show up, and Peter Pettigrew would never have been revealed as a man masquerading as a rat at all. Speaking of Peter Pettigrew, he has his own theme in Azkaban, or shall I say, a 9-note motif that signifies his existence. It's dark and a little creepy. After all, Peter Pettigrew is supposed to be dead, not wandering around the castle in the dead of night. I mentioned the Mischief theme earlier and how it is played only once in the film, and technically that's true, but Sideways has an excellent video on how Peter Pettigrew's theme is actually a restructuring and retelling of the Mischief theme. He knows way more about musical theory than I do, so go and watch it, it's great. The most prominent and perhaps main theme of Prisoner of Azkaban is A Window to the Past. First played on an Irish whistle and later refrained for both horns and strings. This piece of music is generally associated with Harry's family. It first plays when Lupin tells Harry about his relationship with Lily, and later when Sirius is talking about the Potters asking him to be Harry's godfather. It's played finally when Sirius escapes at the end of the film. This piece works so well in the finale because it's really quite sad, quite melancholy. Yes, Sirius has escaped and avoided the Dementor's kiss, but he has to go into hiding. With him goes Harry's best chance of having a normal family, at least for now, and that is devastating to a 13-year-old who has wanted a normal family for his entire life. A Window to the Past is such a beautiful piece to play because of the bittersweet feeling we get from the scene. That and the fact that by the end of the film it has evolved from just a whistle to a full orchestra with deep horns and soaring strings. It's just really, really good. Any story that involves time travel is always going to be a little convoluted, and having a huge number of distinct and refrained themes to keep track of can end up making a member of the audience get lost in the reworking of the story's timeline. Having only 4 main themes throughout Azkaban is the perfect remedy for this. There is still an awful lot of excellent and truly memorable music in this film, but it's just so much easier to keep track of this time. Williams knew when to restrain himself and wrote music which, again, resonated with the target audience. This is still a film for kids, remember. To condense and focus the soundtrack of Prisoner of Azkaban was a touch of genius on Williams' part. Not only does the relative lack of over-the-top musical chaos fit the tone of the movie more, but it gives more power to the themes that are used. I don't know about you, but I resonate so much more with A Window to the Past than I do the Loved Ones theme from the first 2 films. I'm sure there will be some people that disagree with me, and that's fine. Music is subjective after all. John Williams would never return to the Harry Potter series. The next film, Goblet of Fire, would be scored by Patrick Doyle. And let's be honest, he had the hardest possible job, taking the music established by Williams and making it his own. He succeeded, mostly, but that's a story for another time. Until then, give the soundtrack to Prisoner of Azkaban another go. I don't think you'll regret it. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. This is something that's been in the works for a while now. I really love Harry Potter and especially the soundtracks, so writing and making this has been an absolute joy. I'll be back sometime soon with part 2, where I'll go over Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince. Those are my 3 favourite films in the series, so it might be a long one. Again, thanks for watching, watch the videos that I've linked in the description, and I'll see you next time.